Hello friends. Let's analyze, interpret, and give meaning to your dreams one episode at a time, here on The Illuminated Dreamer. As I stated in my introductory video, I cannot expect anyone to have faith in my knowledge of this subject matter without revealing my own truth as proof. Please like, comment, share, subscribe and select the notification bell because this is just the beginning. And remember, anonymous dream interpretations can be sent to the email provided in the description. Let's go back to where it all began. Early on, for much of my life, I had a recurring dream that went on for several years. The circumstances and events that occurred within the dream were so horrifying to me that I quickly realized it was a nightmare. In 2005, when I was 27 years old, and just 1 month after my daughter's first birthday, the events I had always dreamed about played out right before my eyes. I immediately recognized that what I was experiencing in my waking life were the events from my nightmares. For most of my life, I have had a love-hate relationship with large bodies of water. On the one hand, water calms and cleanses my entire being in a way that I cannot explain. The shores of a beach, or even the pond behind my current home, are my happy places that I've come to rely on for balance. When a physician wants to prescribe medications to relieve stress, anxiety, grief or depression, I politely decline and make my way to the water. Yet, on the other hand, one of my biggest fears is being overtaken by water with no ability or strength to survive. Dreams of drowning have haunted me since childhood. I have no desire to be on a vessel of any kind in the middle of the ocean, sea, river, lake or even a bay. As a little girl, the traumatic experience of being submerged in water, and the drowning death of a childhood relative caused by an undertow, further cultivated my fears of water into adulthood. I respect the water, which is why I set boundaries and have an unspoken agreement with it. Dear water, I will love you from a distance and never take for granted the power that you possess. This is our understanding, and it has been that way for as long as I can recall. When my oldest niece was about 5 years old, I took her to a pool party at a friend's home. On that day, she climbed into the pool without me and sank straight to the bottom. Up until that day, I'd never been so scared in my life. Fortunately, she was brought to the surface within a matter of seconds by another swimmer, but it felt like an eternity. From that day forward, the nightmare that I am about to describe here in this video became more frequent and vivid by the day. My dream felt so real that I could touch it. After that occurrence, almost every night I dreamed that my niece and I were in the middle of an urban city submerged in dirty, murky water. There was garbage and bloated bodies, both animal and human, surrounding us. The water was chest level for me, yet as time went on it rose to just below my chin. My niece was in my arms as I clung to whatever floating debris I could reach to stay afloat. I fought and struggled to keep her alive, with no regard for my own life. The mission was to keep her safe, so she could make it back home to our family. Eventually, after what seemed like hours of treading water, a U.S. Coast Guard helicopter appears overhead and releases a rope ladder to save us. Of course, my 5-year-old niece is instructed to climb up first and I was to follow closely behind. However, the wet, slippery rope and the wind generated by the propellers of the chopper made it difficult for her to do so on her own. The rescuers from the aircraft then lowered a basket to us and she climbed in and was successfully lifted to safety. But when it was my turn to do the same, the apparatus used to lower the basket down to me malfunctioned, and the rope ladder snapped, causing it to break. Realizing there was not anything more that could be done, the helicopter left me there as I struggled to survive. The dream never goes any further because at this point I usually wake from my dream in a panic. This nightmare replayed in my subconscious over and over for several years, until in 2005 when my niece was 10 years old, and Hurricane Katrina tore through our city. I am from New Orleans and was deeply impacted by Katrina and the events that followed. Although the events of my recurring nightmare did not impact me and my niece as depicted in the dream, so many others in our city did in fact experience what I saw while asleep, in their waking lives. When my family and I were finally able to turn on the news, the first image I saw was a woman and child in the middle of the murky waters in the city being rescued by the U.S. Coast Guard. I immediately had déjà vu, and went off to the restroom by myself to cry in private. As time went on, more and more images and news broadcasts began showing similar images and rescues. There have been subsequent documentaries and stories of mothers telling their first-hand account of losing their children in the waters of Katrina. In part 2 of the Dream Before the Storm series, I will explain how the events of Katrina impacted the choices I made in my life going forward. I will also interpret the symbolism of the people, objects, surroundings, and activities in my dream leading up to the disaster. In hindsight, there were many warning signs concerning the hurricane as well as a glimpse into how my own life was about to unfold. Until then, pleasant dreams.